As Nazir Daf we begin with a Mishnah in the middle of the first Amud, and we'll go to the end of the Perek, end of the fourth Perek. The Mishnah discusses when a son wants to use the korbanos that his father set aside for his Naziris. So the Mishnah begins and says, a son can use his father's korbanos for his Naziris, but a woman cannot use her father's korbanos for Naziris. And now, what is the case that a son could use his father's korbanos? So here we have different gersais. The Gersa that's in front of us does not fit with the Gemara later or the Gemara which we've seen earlier quoting this Mishnah, so we'll go with the Gersa that Rishonim bring. And that's the Rabbi Yossi says that it depends if he made his Naziris after his father died and left his Korbanos over, or while his father was still alive before he was Mafresh Korbanos. If he made his Naziris while his father was alive, and then his father is Mafresh Korbanos, and then he dies, he cannot take over his father's Korbanos. If, however, his father was a Nazir, and he was not, and the father was Mafresh Korbanos, and then he died, and the son comes along and says, I'm only being Makabel Naziris on the condition that I can use my father's Korbanos, then he is able to use them. And here, the Mishnah says that it's only talking about if it's Mois Stumin, where it was not set aside what anything is. If he could use them, he uses them, and if not, then it goes to Nedava. Okay, let's see the Gemara. So the Gemara, first of all, asks, what is the reason that he can use his father's korbanos in this case? And Reb Chanan again says it's halachah l'meshem misinai. We don't know an explanation, we just know that's halachah l'meshem misinai. Now the Gemara wants to know, what is the chiddush of saying that the daughter cannot use her father's? A daughter does not inherit her father. So why would I think that she could use her father's korbanos? They don't belong to her. So Gemara answers talking about where she does inherit. She's the only child, and therefore she inherits. And the question is, does the halacha l'meshem misinai apply to her or not? You may have thought that the halacha l'meshem misinai applies to her because she inherits. Even though the halacha l'meshem misinai may have been phrased as a son, it could be meant an inheritor. And in that, the Mishnah is explaining, no. The halacha l'meshem misinai is only that a son could use his father's korbanos and not the daughter. All right, now the Gemara turns to Rav Yossi's halacha. And the Gemara wants to know, what do the Chachamim say? Do they agree, disagree? And if they agree, and if they do not agree, what do they hold? So Rav Yossi, as we've seen, said that it depends if the son made his Naziris while the father was alive or after the death of the father. If he made while the father was alive, he can't use his father's korbanos. If he made it after the death of the father, he can use his father's korbanos. So the question is, do the Chachamim agree with that? Or do the Chachamim hold that there's no difference in all cases he can use his father's korbanos even if he made his Naziris while the father was alive, or the opposite is true? Do they say they can never make Naziris, he can never use his father's korbanos even if he made his Naziris after the death of the father? Someone quotes a brisa that says pretty explicitly, it quotes Rabbi Yossi in full as we've seen in our Mishnah, and then it quotes Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yehuda, who all say, no, in all cases, the son is allowed to use his father's korbanos. Clearly, they're arguing on the case of where the son was a Nazir at the same time as his father, where Rabbi Yossi said he cannot use his father's korbanos, and these Chachamim, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda are saying that he can. The Gemara now ends off the paragraph with a series of shailas, which we don't have an answer to. We end them all with teiku. So Rabba, or Rava as the Gersa is, asks the questions as follows. First question is, what if the father has two sons? Do they split the korbanos because it's a Yerusha, it's inheritance, and they each only have a right to half? Or do you say, no, the halacha l'meshem misinai is not about inheritance. He's saying that you can use the korbanos, not as an inheritance, just because it's a special halacha that son could use his father's korbanos if it's done properly. That would be the case, and whichever son goes first, even if they're both Nazir, whichever one grabs the korbanos first is the one who could use them. Or do you say, no, it's inheritance, so they have to split it? Now, if you say it's inheritance, is it full inheritance, or is it not really full inheritance? The difference would be if one is a Bechar and one is a regular son. Does the Bechar get to take 2/3 of the korbanos, like a Bechar always gets twice as much as the other son? Or does it not have those DNA inheritance and they have to split it evenly? Next shaila, the Gemara answers, is if you say that it is considered like an inheritance, is the inheritance only in Chulin, and the Bechar only gets Pishnayim in Chulin? Or do you say the Bechar gets Pishnayim no matter what? Generally, the halacha is the Bechar can only take twice, can only take a double portion of something which is chulin. Something that's hektish is not considered to be belonging to the father, and there's no inheritance. Or do you say, no, this is different, and the halacha l'meshem misinai gives him the power to view it as inheritance, therefore he takes Pishnayim, even though it's kajim? Next question the Gemara asks is, what if the types of Naziris that the son of the father had are different? One was a Nazir Olam, and one was a regular Nazir. Either one could be the father's the Olam and the son's the Nazir, or the son's the Olam and the father's the regular Nazir. Do you have the same halacha Mishmasini in that case or not? And the final question is, what if one brought karbanos because he finished his Nazirus bitahara, and one is bringing his karbanos because he finished his Nazirus bituma? It's different types of karbanos. Can he still use his father's karbanos, or the money set aside for his father's karbanos, or not? And again, teku on all these questions, we don't have an answer.